The Helios frontier drifted silently through the violet haze of the nebula Theta 9. Its massive hull reflected the distant starlight like a metallic wave frozen in space. Inside, the crew moved through their routines, unaware of the strange presence that had begun to follow them. Lieutenant Evan Carter, a human with a quiet strength and sharp instincts, noticed the oddities first. Tools shifted slightly when no one was near them. Panels blinked, showing errors that disappeared the moment someone approached. The ship's AI, advanced and usually flawless, could not detect anything unusual. And yet Evan could feel it. Something unseen was watching. It started subtly. One evening, as he walked down the maintenance corridor, a soft brush of warmth grazed his arm. He froze, heart pounding, and turned. The corridor was empty. The lights hummed steadily. He shook his head, convincing himself it was nothing. But the feeling lingered, a trace of presence that refused to leave. Later, in the observation bay, the stars themselves seemed to flicker, as if someone stood between him and the cosmos. He called out softly, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Silence answered, but the air felt heavier, almost alive. Meanwhile, someone else observed him too. Lyra, a member of the Veyari, moved invisibly through the ship. Her race had evolved beyond sight. They could bend light, sound, and even the perception of touch. To humans, they were ghosts, myths whispered in the corners of interstellar colonies. Lyra believed humans could never see her. Her mission was simple: observe, gather intelligence, and ensure humanity never discovered her hidden homeworld. Yet, she could not ignore Evan. He was different. He moved with careful purpose, tending to broken equipment with patience. He risked himself to fix a hull breach alone, exposing himself to radiation to save the ship. Most humans would have panicked, but he didn't. She watched him silently, drawn to the calm certainty in his movements. She reached out once, letting her invisible fingers hover inches from his hand. For a brief moment, she felt the heat of his skin, the subtle pulse of life, and he paused. He turned slowly as if he sensed her presence. Lyra recoiled in shock. No human should feel her. The ship hummed with tension over the next few days. Sensors continued to glitch. Lights flickered. Crew members joked about ghosts, but Evan grew increasingly serious. One night, the ship's engines stuttered. A maintenance panel in the engineering bay was jammed, threatening to overheat the reactor. Evan raced toward it, knowing the emergency protocol. As he reached the panel, a lever moved before his fingers touched it. Sparks flew. He froze, looking around, heart pounding. The movement had not been caused by him. "Who's there?" he asked, voice steady despite the adrenaline. Silence followed. The corridor was empty, but Evan's instincts were not wrong. Someone or something was here, and for the first time he felt a strange connection, an awareness beyond the ordinary. Lyra had acted out of necessity. She could not allow the reactor to fail. It would destroy the ship and her chance to study humanity. She remained unseen, hidden in the folds of light that cloaked her form, but Evan did not panic. He simply said, "Thank you," as though acknowledging an unseen hand. Lyra's eyes widened in disbelief. Not fear, not suspicion, just recognition. She vanished before the alarms reset, but the moment stayed with her. Over the next few days, Evan began noticing more anomalies. Small things, subtle but impossible to ignore. A datapad slid slightly when he left it unattended. A tool he had just used reappeared in a different slot. Lights dimmed as he approached, only to brighten when he stepped away. And yet, when he spoke into the empty corridors, there was no reply. Only the quiet hum of the ship. Lyra observed him from the shadows. Each time he worked, she lingered nearby, drawn not by curiosity alone, but by something deeper. His kindness, his careful attention to life and machinery fascinated her. In her people's history, humans were primitive, aggressive, and unaware. But Evan was different. He represented something she had never encountered: empathy and awareness in a fragile, mortal form. One night, Evan stayed late in the observation bay. The stars shone brightly through the glass dome, and he traced constellations with his finger. The ship creaked softly around him. He whispered into the quiet, "If you're here, you don't have to hide." Lyra was nearby, invisible, and the words struck her in a way she had never expected. Humans were not supposed to sense her. No one could feel the weight of her presence unless she allowed it. Yet he did, and something in her stirred, a warmth she had long forgotten. Suddenly the ship shuddered. A small asteroid debris field had struck the outer hull, sending vibrations through the decks. Evan rushed toward the source, his boots clanging against metal. He found a panel loose, and before he could reach it, it moved again. As if guided by invisible hands, sparks sprayed and he leapt back instinctively. Enough hiding, he muttered under his breath. I won't hurt you. Lyra hesitated. She had never heard a human speak to her before. Always fear, always defense. But his words were calm, gentle, and honest. For the first time, she felt the possibility of trust. She extended her hand closer to the panel, steadying it so it wouldn't fall. Evan felt the pressure, and though his mind screamed at him that no one should be there, he did not panic. He adjusted his grip and finished the repair. When the task was done, Evan looked around. Nothing, no shadow, no figure. Only the quiet hum of the repaired panel. He shook his head. I must be imagining things, he whispered. But in the hidden recesses of the maintenance shaft, Lyra's eyes glowed faintly with relief. She had saved him in the ship without revealing herself. In the following days, Evan began speaking more often into empty corridors, leaving tools in places that required help. He knew someone was there, unseen, and he wanted them to know he was not a threat. Lyra watched, fascinated. Each time he spoke, she felt a connection growing, intangible but undeniable. The simplicity of his gestures, the calm in his voice, the patience he showed. These things made her question everything she had believed about humans. One evening, a minor breach occurred in the cargo hold. A floating crate began drifting dangerously toward the outer airlock. Evan dashed forward, reaching for it, only for the crate to stop midair. It hovered, then shifted slightly aside. Evan froze, recognizing the touch he could not see. You're here again, he said softly. I don't know why, but... Thank you. For a moment, Lyra considered vanishing completely, never to interact again, but she could not leave. She hovered closer, brushing against his arm with invisible fingers, and he felt it. Warmth, pressure, a subtle brush of life he could not explain. He did not panic, did not scream. He only said, It's okay. I can feel you, Lyra's mind raced. Her species had warned against exposure. Humans were too primitive, too unpredictable. Yet this one, this human, understood in ways her people could not anticipate. And for reasons she could not explain, she wanted to stay. She wanted to be seen, even if only by him. That night, Evan lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. You don't have to hide, he whispered again into the empty air. And somewhere in the darkness, invisible and trembling, Lyra heard him. She hovered just above the floor, eyes glowing softly, unsure of what she felt but certain of one thing. She had never felt seen like this before. The ship continued its journey through the nebula, silent but alive with unseen presence. Lyra lingered near Evan, watching as he performed his duties, repaired systems, and cared for the ship. And Evan, in his quiet way, continued to speak to the emptiness, unaware that the invisible woman who haunted the corridors was slowly learning what it meant to be truly seen. Neither of them knew how close the future would bring them. Neither knew that the bond forming in silence, in trust, and in courage would change both of their lives forever. But on the Helios frontier, under the shimmering light of distant stars, the invisible began to realize that perhaps, just perhaps, she did not need to remain unseen. And Evan, feeling the warmth brush his hand once more as he fixed another loose panel, smiled softly to himself. Someone was there. Someone was watching. And in a universe so vast, that presence, though invisible, felt like home. Days passed aboard the Helios frontier, and the quiet bond between Evan and the unseen presence grew stronger. Lyra moved carefully, never revealing herself completely but staying close enough to observe him. She learned how he worked, how he slept, how he interacted with the crew, and she felt something she had never experienced before, a desire to be known, to be acknowledged, to exist beyond invisibility. Evan, for his part, had grown accustomed to the strange occurrences. He no longer flinched at tools moving on their own or panels adjusting themselves. He spoke more often into the corridors, leaving soft messages for the unseen observer. I hope you're doing okay, he whispered one evening as he repaired the main engine conduits. You don't have to hide if you don't want to. Lyra hesitated, torn between her instincts to remain hidden and her growing fascination with this human. She had lived centuries cloaked in light and shadow, never interacting directly with humans. To reveal herself meant risking everything. Her people, the Veyari, would consider it a betrayal. Yet Evan's calm patience, His quiet bravery and his unshakable empathy made her question her lifelong rules. The moment came unexpectedly. A critical malfunction occurred in the reactor core. Alarms blared through the ship as sparks flew and steam hissed from the containment tubes. The crew scrambled to respond, but the system was beyond their immediate control. Evan raced into the engineering bay, heart pounding, and froze. The reactor's main cooling lever was too high for him to reach. It needed someone taller or more capable. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. She hovered close, invisible, considering her options. She could have simply adjusted the lever, saved the reactor, and disappeared. But something inside her rebelled at the idea of remaining unseen. She wanted him to know she was there, to feel the connection that had quietly grown between them over days of unspoken interaction. With a deep breath, she reached out, steadying the lever with her hand. Evan felt the pressure immediately, a solid warmth against his own. He froze, realization dawning. "You're here," he said softly, his voice calm despite the chaos. "I knew you were here all along." For the first time, Lyra allowed her cloak to falter. Light shimmered around her form, revealing the faint outline of her body. She tried to withdraw, but Evan stepped closer, placing his hand gently on hers. The touch was electric, a bridge between the human and the alien. Lyra felt something she had never imagined, trust, acceptance, even warmth, coursing through her. The reactor stabilized, and the alarms ceased. The crew looked around, confused by the sudden halt of the emergency. Evan stepped back slightly, turning toward where the presence had been. He did not speak to the empty air this time. Instead, he simply waited. Lyra's glow became brighter, the light around her solidifying into the full shape of a humanoid figure. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, translucent but solid, her eyes a soft, luminescent blue. Evan's breath caught in his throat. He had expected fear, hostility, maybe even danger, but instead he saw beauty, grace, and something utterly alive. He reached out again, placing his hand on her shoulder. She did not flinch. Instead, the last of her invisibility dissolved under the warmth of his touch. The bridge crew gasped as the Veyari fully revealed herself. Murmurs filled the corridors. Some backed away, unsure of what they were seeing. Others froze, captivated by the alien's form and presence. Lyra looked around nervously, but Evan's calm expression reassured her. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe." For the first time in centuries, Lyra allowed herself to breathe without fear. She had been invisible for so long, watching, hiding, never truly participating. But now here she was, seen and acknowledged. And the human who had perceived her without eyes, without sensors, had made her feel something no one else had. Valued. Over the next days, Evan and Lyra explored the nature of their connection. They moved carefully among the crew, learning to navigate the complex web of human curiosity and fear. Lyra's presence was no longer a secret, but the crew respected Evan's calm authority and quickly adapted. She shared knowledge of the Veyari people cautiously, revealing their history, their technology, and their struggles. Her story was remarkable. The Veyari had hidden themselves for centuries, believing humanity was not ready for their presence. They had perfected invisibility to avoid war, to survive. Lyra had been sent as an observer, tasked with ensuring that humans never discovered their hidden homeworld. But Evan had changed everything. Through patience, courage, and empathy, he had bridged a gap no Veyari had imagined possible. Evan listened intently, fascinated by her world and history. He asked questions not as an interrogator, but as someone seeking to understand. He treated her as an equal, never as a curiosity or a weapon. This simple act of recognition, something humans took for granted, was revolutionary to Lyra. She realized that her entire existence, shaped by secrecy and fear, had never known true understanding. Their growing bond did not go unnoticed. Lyra's presence aboard the Helios frontier was reported to her people, who contacted her with urgency. The Veyari fleet demanded that she erase all traces of her encounter, to remove humanity's knowledge of their existence. They threatened exile, punishment, even destruction if she disobeyed. Lyra hesitated. She had never defied her people before, but she could not betray Evan. He had seen her fully, recognized her, and treated her with dignity and care. In his presence, she felt the possibility of coexistence, of something beyond fear. The choice was terrifying but inevitable. She refused to follow the fleet's orders. She would protect humanity, not hide from them. Evan supported her decision quietly but firmly. "You don't have to choose between us," he said one evening, standing beside her in the observation bay. "We can help each other. You don't need to hide anymore. Not from me. Not from them." For the first time, Lyra felt hope. The weight of invisibility, the loneliness of centuries, lifted slightly. She realized that humanity's strength was not in its weapons or technology, but in the capacity for trust, courage, and understanding. Evan had demonstrated all three, simply by seeing her for who she truly was. The ship continued its journey, but the dynamic had changed. Lyra walked openly among the crew, teaching them about her people, helping with repairs using her unique abilities, and guiding the ship through challenges only someone with her vision could foresee. She and Evan became a team, each learning from the other. His human ingenuity and bravery complemented her alien perspective and skills, forming a bond stronger than either could have imagined. The final moment came as they approached the hidden Veyari homeworld. Sensors lit up, revealing a planet shrouded in energy fields hidden for centuries. Lyra paused, eyes wide. The planet had been her secret, her refuge, and her prison. Now with Evan at her side, she felt no fear. For the first time, she could share it openly without hiding. Evan reached out, taking her hand. She looked at him, trembling slightly, unsure of what to say. He smiled softly. "You don't have to hide anymore," he repeated. "We can face it together." Her hand tightened around his, and in that simple gesture, the invisible became visible. Lyra had learned that recognition, empathy, and courage could bridge worlds. She had found trust in humanity, and in Evan she had discovered something deeper, the possibility of belonging. The Veyari fleet observed silently, waiting for a sign of defiance. Lyra stepped forward, holding Evan's hand, and transmitted a message of peace. Humanity would not be hidden, not because they were unworthy, but because they had earned recognition through courage and compassion. Evan stood beside her, heart steady, and nodded. They had crossed a threshold that neither species had expected. In a universe so vast and full of danger, they had found connection, understanding, and hope. The invisible woman, once feared and unseen, now walked openly among humans, a bridge between worlds, a symbol of trust, and proof that even the smallest act of recognition could change everything. As the ship drifted closer to the planet, Lyra looked at Evan and whispered, "You changed everything." He smiled, his hand still holding hers. "No," he said gently. "You just let yourself be seen." And for the first time in centuries, Lyra felt complete. She was visible, acknowledged, and no longer alone. She had learned that being seen was not weakness but strength. Humanity, with its empathy, courage, and simple touch, had revealed everything, and in doing so, had changed her world forever. The Helios frontier continued its journey through the nebula, carrying both human and Veyari, united not by fear or secrecy, but by recognition and trust. And somewhere deep inside, Lyra knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven itself remarkable, and she had finally found a place where she belonged.